So I wonder how good you are at waiting. How good are you at waiting? Are you patient? Do you get bored and frustrated really easily? Does anyone know how many days there are left to Christmas? Harry? Is it 16? 15? I've absolutely no idea, to be honest, but I know some people can't wait for Christmas. How many? 15 left. Some people are counting down for Christmas because they can't wait. And as we've come into December, as we're waiting for Christmas, what sort of things are people doing as you're waiting for Christmas? What sort of things have you been doing over the last couple of weeks, or you're going to do over the next couple of weeks as you wait and get ready for Christmas? Just shout a few out. What sort of things are you doing? Advent calendars, wrapping presents, decorating the Christmas tree, shopping, parking. What? Partying. I see. Okay. What else are people doing? Eating. Ordering wine. Thank you. Okay. So we're very good at waiting and practicing and preparing to celebrate Jesus coming. Often, we can think of waiting for something as quite a kind of passive thing. Like, we just sit back and wait for that thing to happen. But as you've just shown, waiting for something can actually be quite a busy, quite an active thing too. Rather than just sitting around waiting for Christmas, which you could do, you want that day to be amazing. You're looking forward to it. And so you're living now, you're beginning to prepare now for that which will happen in 15 days' time. And so in the Bible, the biblical understanding of waiting for Jesus, is to actively anticipate what is coming. Waiting is living now in readiness of what is coming soon. And today, we've lit the second candle on our Advent wreath. And as we light it, we think of the prophets. And one of the jobs of the prophets, they're mainly kind of in the second half of the Old Testament, but one of their jobs was to help the people of God to wait for Jesus well. One of the jobs of the prophets was to help the people of God wait for Jesus' coming well. And the prophets said to people, they called the people of God to look back and remind them that God had been faithful to all his promises, and so they could rely on him for the future. They called people to look forward to a day, the day when Jesus would come, when God would come and save them, when God would come and redeem them, when God would come and restore them. But they also called people to look and live in the light of that now. They might be here waiting for God to come, but they called the people to live and to begin to look to the light and to begin to reflect the light now, to wait well as they look forward to Jesus coming. And so in our reading today, Isaiah 60, Isaiah was one of the main prophets, one of the major prophets in the Old Testament. But in our reading today, we kind of get the impression, if you look back over Isaiah, that the people of God had not been waiting well. And we can't probably blame them. You see, as they looked around them at what was going on, things weren't great. There'd been wars, they'd been dragged off from their country, they were experiencing all kinds of hardship. And this promise they'd had about, you are God's people, God's going to bless you so that you would bless others. They're kind of looking around and going, well, God, I don't really see much evidence of that. What are you up to? And so rather than kind of be looking at the light and living in the light and kind of beginning to shine God's light to people around, they'd kind of got a little bit fed up and despondent. Their heads had got down. And they kind of turned away from all the ways that God had asked them to live. They'd lost that sense of anticipation. They'd perhaps believed that one day God would come in their heads, but I'm not sure they really believed it in their hearts. I'm not sure they believed God really would come and rescue them anytime soon. They weren't living in the promise and anticipation of that. They weren't waiting well. They'd fallen asleep on the job. They'd let their behavior become more sinful as they turned more and more away from God. They were living more in darkness than they were in the light. And so Isaiah comes and he says to the people, arise and shine. Come on, wake up, get up. God hasn't forgotten his promises. You may have fallen asleep. You may have slipped into darkness, but God has not forgotten you. God will still come and fulfill his promises. Now, for us, of course, as we go through Advent and wait for Christmas, we have a big advantage over the people of Israel. You see, we're preparing to celebrate something that we know has already happened, which makes it a little bit easier, right? We already know that Jesus has come. And so we're not waiting for him to come. We kind of enter into that sense during Advent, but we know how the story ends. You see, we're not still waiting for Jesus to come because we know at that first Christmas that Jesus has already come and made his home among us. And so now we're living in the light of that. He already has come, and so it's easy to get ready to celebrate that. But Advent isn't just about waiting and getting ready for Christmas. Advent is also a time when the church reflects on how we are waiting, how we're living, how we're anticipating, not just Jesus coming at Christmas, but Jesus' second coming, the time when Jesus returns. A day when there'll be a new heaven and a new earth, where God's kingdom will reign with love and peace. A day when Revelation, which is the book right at the end of the Bible that speaks about this, Revelation 21 says this, a day when God's dwelling place is now among the people. He will dwell with that was Hebrew. He will dwell with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. It says he will wipe away every tear from their eye. There'll be no more death, no more mourning, no more crying, no more pain, for the old order of things has passed away, and you look really excited about the prospect. A day is coming when his kingdom will come and everything will be renewed and restored. And so Isaiah's words, arise and shine, come on, wake up. Can you see what God is doing? Are you living your life now in light of the kingdom that is already here and is continuing to come and one day will be fulfilled? Those words are not just words from Isaiah many years in the past that aren't relevant to us today because Jesus has already come. They're even more relevant to us today because in part it's being fulfilled. And Isaiah says, church, awake, rise and shine. But I do wonder if, like the people in Isaiah, it's easy for us to forget to wait well. Perhaps we look around our world and see some of the situations going on and we become overwhelmed. Perhaps we believe in our heads, yes, Jesus is coming, but in our hearts, we don't really think it's going to be anytime soon. And so we kind of relax a bit. Perhaps in our faith, we've become a little bit lazy. Perhaps other things with more immediate joy and more immediate returns actually are a little bit more fun, and so we give in to those rather than trust and obey Jesus' words. And perhaps we've been persuaded that actually it's all right in the darkness. It's certainly easier to live there. And even now, we, like the people in Isaiah, find it hard to fully shine. But here's the thing. Isaiah says, hang on, you don't need to shine yourself. You're weary. You've messed up. You've lost some of the anticipation of Jesus. But look to the light. Look to Jesus. It's him who shines. We just reflect his light. So arise and shine, it says, for the glory of the Lord rises upon you. It's because of Jesus and his glory that we can shine as we reflect his light. So in your waiting, look to Jesus. Look back at his faithfulness. Look forwards to all he has promised. And now live in the present, in the light of that. Arise and shine, because the glory of the Lord rises upon you. And you know, the Bible tells us in so many ways, in so many different places, that as we turn to the Lord, he will have mercy on us and will pardon us. That as we turn to the Lord, our eyes are open as we turn from darkness and receive forgiveness. He says, come to me, for your burden is light. He says, come to me, for I am the God that heals. Arise and shine, for the glory of the Lord rises upon you. Now the problem is this light can be unplugged. But Jesus is the light of the world. And he says, I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. Jesus' light will never be unplugged. And Ephesians 5:8, Paul writes, for once you were full of darkness, but now you have light from the Lord. So he says, live as people of light. Don't go back and kind of dull the light and live in that way. Live as the people you are created to be. Wait well, live in anticipation of his kingdom, and live in a way that reflects Jesus, and points people to God. In Matthew 5, Jesus, the light of the world, talking to his disciples, says, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and that they may glorify not you, but your Father in heaven. It's what we see. It's what Juliet read with all those difficult names of places. All nations begin to gather around Jesus. All nations, when they see Jesus, will come to his light. And I long to see that here in my life. I long to see that to be true of St. Swithin's. People are attracted to the light of Jesus. And I long to see that in our nation. So in this time of Advent, a message for us as a church is arise and shine, for the glory of the Lord rises upon you. Turn to the light and let your love shine.